As we look to 2021 and all that God has in store for us this next year, we know one thing for sure, and that is that where we are this year is certainly very different than where we were this time last year. Going forward, food security is going to remain the #1 issue in our surrounding community, especially for the families and children who are dependent on schools for their nutrition. We want to continue to help with food security with some of our existing programs through the network, Minnie's Food Pantry. These include working with our partner schools, Otto Middle School in Plano ISD and Thurgood Marshall Elementary School in Richardson. We'll also look to start up some new ways of providing food both at Austin Street and through Meals on Wheels in ways that keep us safe and yet keep relationships at the forefront of our ministry. Every crisis produces unintended side effects, things that we really didn't see coming. And a term that has begun to be thrown around a lot lately is something called quarantine learning loss. The unintended consequence of learning gaps created in kids who have had to shift their model of learning and education to a completely new, different way. It is our hope in 2021 that as we can begin to meet again face to face, that we can start up a tutoring and mentorship program to combat some of these learning loss needs in schools around us. Many of you know that Canyon Creek sends a group of missionaries every other year to Malawi, Africa through one of our partner organizations, Villages in Partnership. 2020 would have been a year that we sent a group from our church, and in fact we had 4 members who were ready to travel to Malawi. Because of all that is happening, of course, they weren't able to travel this summer. Even though 2021 would be considered an off year for travel to Malawi, it is our hope that we can still send those missionaries who wanted to go this coming summer in 2021. COVID hit the United States before it hit Malawi earlier this year. And as soon as it did, we had our precious friends in Malawi reach out to us on Facebook and through phone calls almost immediately. Their healthcare consultant and nurse, Mada, their agricultural guys, all of them started messaging and wanting to know, was Canyon Creek Presbyterian Church okay? How could they pray for us? Were any of us sick? They wished us well. They wanted to know how they could support us. We show them that we care all the time by traveling and engaging and helping them with some of their programming. And when they have an opportunity to reach out to us, it reminds me just how deeply connected the partnership between our 2 villages, our village of Canyon Creek and their villages in the Sakata region, truly are. One of the things that routinely happens in a normal time when the church office is open is that we get walk-ins. We get people who come in needing food, needing financial assistance, needing a referral to a social service. And one of the big concerns we all had when it was time to close the building is what's going to happen to these people who are coming to us from help. Our wonderful staff at North Star Learning Center who was still here, and Ida, our office manager, has been instrumental in making sure that both myself and the pastors still receive these referrals. One of the gentlemen who crossed our paths this summer was a man who had spent all of his resources in trying to secure cancer treatment for his wife. They were driving down from Kentucky to get her to MD Anderson in Houston. They had spent the previous night in their car, just sleeping in an abandoned parking lot. And he happened to know someone who was a friend of someone who attended Canyon Creek. And so he got our number. He called, and when I was able to talk to him, he simply asked if we wouldn't mind if they spent the night in our church parking lot sleeping in their car. Because of your generosity and because of your pledged giving, we had more than enough money in our pastor's emergency fund and general budget to cover more than that for them. We were able to put them up in a hotel, get them a good meal to eat, and get them on their feet so that they could continue their travels to MD Anderson the next day. It's so important to give. And for me personally, I just know that God calls me to give. He doesn't always tell me what He's going to do with my money and my resources. And this situation this summer struck me hard as one of those times where I was so thankful that I listened to God and that I followed His command to give, because He used it for something that was so much more than I could have thought of or dreamed of or done all by myself. So I encourage you to prayerfully consider the ways in which God is asking you to give this next year in 2021.